Welcome in, everyone, to the Talkin Kentucky College SportsCast postgame show. My name is Coleman Scott. I'm joined by Brad Harvey as the Cats fall to the Georgia Bulldogs 13-12 after a very hard-fought game. One that had some ups and some downs and some what ifs, and we'll get into all of those. Brad, what are you feeling right off the bat here?
Well, I'm not mad. Last week I was severely mad, so I'm not mad. So that's a good start. I guess we could start with that because last week I was in full rant mode when we did this show, post game show. I mean, my thing is there sure is a lot of what ifs out of this game. They played good. They didn't play great. Not in total. You know what I'm saying? Like, the offense was okay, better than last week, but not great. I thought the defense played really, really well, and maybe I'll give them great on the defensive side of the ball. What do you think?
So let's go back to the very first thing you said about, well, we're not mad, right? We're not mad. And we sort of said last week, if you come out and you get blown out again, which we thought was pretty likely tonight, I think the entire fan base was predicting a blowout
I'm pretty
tonight.
sure the entire world thought it. I'm pretty sure.
Vegas put the line at 24. I think it got down to maybe 22 or something like that. But, everybody thought it was going to be a blowout, right? So to go in and not only compete, but take Georgia, the number one team in the country, who, by the way, folks, I'm sure you've heard this stat, but if you haven't, Georgia has lost 2 games in the past.
They've won 42
years.
regular season games in a row, guys. That was number 42 tonight against us in a 13-12 win for the Bulldogs. And they know that they were in a dogfight, to be honest with you, choice for better words there, I guess. But, and I'm a little sad. I'm not mad like I was last week, but I'm a little sad that the outcome tends to always go this way for Kentucky and Kentucky fans, to be quite honest with you. They come out, they played really well, moved the ball. Rayner, the kicker, deserves all the credit in the world.
Oh, for sure.
Not only did he kick 4 field goals, 2 of them were of 50 plus, and one of them was a school record. The 55-yarder in the first half was a school record in length.
Well, let's talk about that real quick before we forget. 100% of our points tonight came from Alex Rayner. Again, it's 2 weeks in a row that you haven't scored a touchdown. You can't really fault him against Georgia because, going back to they won 42 games in a row, Brad, and the 2 were to Alabama, not only Alabama, but Nick Saban.
So they are 40. So 40, let's see. That makes 48 games now. The only 2 losses was to Nick Saban and Alabama in the SEC championship game. That's the only 2 losses that they've had.
And you took them literally to
the last
buzzer. You took them literally to the buzzer. It's not like, it was a game at halftime, it was a game in the third quarter, or even it was a game in the fourth quarter. You took them to the buzzer.
They held them at the end twice. They got the ball back with about 8 minutes to go. The defense held big, got the ball back for the offense. And then They did drive the ball down to about the 37, 30, 38, 40-yard line there, but they couldn't get the first down. The defense held. Unfortunately, didn't have enough timeouts quite, to have too much time on the clock there at the end. It was kind of Hail Mary time there at the very end. They were fortunate enough to get 2 plays away. And I guess I'll get to my biggest gripe for this game in a few minutes, but I'm going to let you guys kind of chill out a little bit. But I do have one big gripe for this game, and I'll get to that, Coleman. I'll get to it as we talk.
Okay. You'll get to it as we go here, but
yeah.
So absolutely, props to Alex Rayner. Yeah, not only was a 55-yarder, that's the longest field goal, as you said,
in
Brad,
school history.
in the history of the University of Kentucky. So that, if we're looking for
positive, Kentucky's been playing football since like the 1880s or something. Something crazy. I mean, honestly,
if we're looking for positives tonight, that's absolutely positive. But let's just start with this. You look at the juice that this team came out with this week versus last week. Last week,
it was daylight. It's night and day difference. It's daylight and dark difference.
Last week, we didn't have any fight at
all. Why that is,
beginning.
I don't know. We had 2 guys that transferred in that were top-notch players from Georgia, one on offense and one on defense. I don't know if that played a role in these guys getting fired up for this game tonight or what, but for sure, 1,000%, they actually came to play, was fired up to play, and challenged the number 1 team in the nation. Why on earth they can't do that against Shane Beamer?
Well,
this is 3 years. This is now 3 years in a row I've been saying the exact same thing.
So last week we really criticized Mark Stoops, Vince Marrow, and the rest of the coaching staff for not having that team ready to play because they didn't. But
and
this
not prepared
week,
and not fired up. Yeah, all that.
But this week they come out and they are absolutely every single play has fire. And really to the very end of the game, they played really hard and they played with intensity and passion. And they bounced back. I was worried, Brad, that we'd come into this game and we'd just be completely destroyed because our morale would be down. We had a bunch of people hurt. Our O-line that played so terribly last week, we had, Jagger Burton was out, and we had to have the backup.
Who had started 27 straight games for us, by the way. Jagger Burton had before tonight.
So there was certainly reason to think that we were going to lay an egg tonight, but we didn't, and I think that is the biggest positive that we do.
So let's talk about some of the positives, okay? So I'm looking at the stats, okay? And these are team stats. This is not individual stats. Team stats. Kentucky had 23 first downs. Georgia only had 12, guys. 12. The entire game. We had 23. We had almost double the amount of first downs that they did. They were 5 of 13 on third down. We were 9 of 16. We out-yardaged them. We had more yards than Georgia tonight. They had 262. We had 284 in total yards. They did have 160 passing where we only had 114 passing. However, we had 170 yards on the ground, and they only had 102. They had 9 penalties. We had 4. They only had the ball for 25 minutes, and we had it for 35 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's certainly. I mean, we beat them on a lot of fronts today,
Team
Brad.
stats, if you look down the board, Kentucky beat them in just about every category. However, we did have the one fumble from Brock.
That was a game changer. That's a what if.
They picked up. Now the defense held, but that field goal
was the difference maker.
Was the difference in the game. They put the ball on the ground. They had a fumble there late. They had a bad snap that was a fumble early in the game that we didn't get to. In a changeover with NTM, Beck lost the ball and it hit the ground, and we didn't get that. I know at least 3 times they had a ball hit the ground tonight, and we couldn't get to it. And then we also had the pick six. We also had the pick six that was nullified. And, I mean, I get it. The play, the ball, the ground did cause him not to catch the ball and probably popped the ball back up. But it just sucks that Kentucky can't catch a break like that. The one touchdown they did score gets called back.
Yeah, and so that certainly are some what ifs, right? The fumbles that we didn't recover, especially the fumble that led to the Brock Vandagriff, the Brock Vandagriff fumble that led to the Georgia field goal there.
Well, on that play, Coleman, on that play, he dropped back. Okay, and this is just not playing enough ball, I think, in the fast SEC. And he dropped back. And if you count the seconds, he had more than 3 seconds. And in this league against Georgia, when you're playing one of the best teams in the country, athletic-wise, you can't hold on to the ball. And in that play, he drops back. It's over 3 seconds. He tries to retreat even more. And while he's doing it, he brings the ball back with one hand, and they get to him, knock the ball out because he's holding it with one hand and not two. And as a quarterback, you have to have that internal clock in you, and you have to get rid of the ball.
So let's talk. Let's talk a little bit about, everybody wants to talk about this touchdown here. So Rachel Parker in the comments, thanks for listening. Rachel says, you feel that was a touchdown. I assume that this is what she was talking about. The call that they ended up calling incomplete, that they thought the ball touched the ground and it was incomplete pass, that ended up being a scoop or a pick six for us at first. Brad, at first, I thought it was the right call to say it was an incomplete pass, but the more I look at it, the more frustrated I get, because I really do, because it was called a touchdown on the field, I really have a problem with them overturning that. I don't think there's enough video evidence for them to overturn that. I think they could have left that one, honestly.
Honestly, that's the biggest gripe. The receiver dove for the ball, okay? His hands was under the ball, all right? And when he dove and went down to the ground, the ball popped up, okay? Yep. So it did hit the ground. I mean, the ground caused it, okay? And technically, in a reception, the ground can't cause, like, if the ground moves the ball when you are coming down and catching in motion, it's an incomplete pass. So, but I agree with what you said. When the play was called a touchdown on the field, you have to have real video evidence that, to overturn it. And I just don't, it was questionable, I think, but I think Georgia got the calls just about all night long, to be quite honest.
They did. And what do you think about, Rachel says, again, SEC protecting its baby. It does feel like there's some truth to that at some points, Brad. What do you think? Do you think there is some kind of Georgia bias going?
Well, so there was clearly at least twice, maybe 3 times, but there was clearly pass interference on some plays that would have been crucial for Kentucky in some drives.
I mean, I could think of 2 there in the fourth quarter for sure.
There was at least 2, if not 3, that were clear pass interference that they just overlooked. And McElroy on TV was like, "Well, that ball's not catchable. I don't give a shit if they're throwing it up in the upper deck. If the guy is clearly
being tackled or
being
restrained.
tackled or held when the pass is thrown to him, that's a flag."
Yeah, and that could have made a big difference, especially on that last drive when we had the opportunity to go and take the lead with yet another Alex Rainer field goal. That could have been huge as far as field position goes. So
absolutely. I mean, I know at least twice, and then early in the game there was the face mask that was called on.
Yeah,
Kentucky.
What was that? They pulled his helmet off.
Called on Kentucky. Now in the replay, the guy Dingle did grab the face mask.
He did, but also they ripped the
running back's helmet off by grabbing. The other guy just did a little jerk. They completely ripped the guy's helmet off and no flag. It should have been 2 penalties, one on each team on that play. And to be quite honest with you, that would have been a huge play because, there was so many times. And then like the first or second play of the game, the first punt of the game, when they punted, they tackled one of their guys coming down the field. And the guy got up after the play and slung our player down on the sideline. And that's when the fight kind of started right there at the beginning of the game. And I'll be darned if they don't call a flag on Kentucky, a 15-yard penalty on Kentucky, when their player is the one that slung ours down after the play.
Well, and Josh says it was a horribly officiated game. And, I'm not the typical, fan that just blames the refs when you lose and everything, Brad. But there were a lot of calls tonight that were weird, and it's on both ends. It's not just Kentucky. And you talk about just officiating in general, right? What was going on with the clock at the end? They're like, oh, it's 3 seconds. Oh, it's 2 seconds. It's 10 seconds.
Well,
it's 9 seconds.
The very end,
what was that?
When the official said 10 seconds, put 10 seconds back on the clock, and then 2 seconds later, he blows the whistle again, says, oh, wait a second, put 9 on the clock.
Well, I've never seen that before, Brad. Have you seen that?
Wait a second. Yeah. You just said 10 seconds on the clock.
10 seconds, yeah. Uh-huh.
How you going to, right after you say that, how you going to take a second back off the clock? He's the lead official and just said, please put 10 seconds back on the clock.
Yeah, have you ever seen that? Because
no.
I certainly have. I've never seen.
Not when a ref has specifically told the timekeeper to put. I've never seen one take time off 2 seconds later and say, "Oh, my bad." I've never seen that before.
Now let's talk about the other.
Now that one that didn't cause the game. I mean, that 1 second there at the end wouldn't have made much difference.
Right. Yeah.
The fact is that it shouldn't have happened.
Right.
You don't do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the other thing that sort of everybody wants to know our opinions of, I'm sure, and everybody's kind of talking about that last 4th and 8 with like 3 minutes to go, where Stoops decides to punt instead of going for it. Now, Brad, I'll give my take first, and I'll let you go here. Stoops is a conservative guy. He's a conservative coach, and that's just who he is. That's just what he does. And to be fair, his game plan and his conservative style of trusting his defense and taking them in the points for most of the night kept them in the game
the entire game.
Now, the first decision by Stoops that I sort of had an issue with at all, or seemed to be controversial, was the 9 seconds left in the first half where you could have run one more play. You could have tried to punch it in for a touchdown.
The one I'm going to talk about.
Okay, and still, but then you end up kicking the field goal. You take the points. It's fine, but you could have maybe run one more play to at least give yourself a chance to score a touchdown. But Brad, I didn't have as much of an issue with that as some people did. But the
I
one
did
that
have an issue with that one, a big issue with that one, especially. And then the fourth down, I'll get to that in a minute, but go ahead.
yeah, well, I was gonna say the one I did have an issue with was at the end of the game, the 4th and 8. There's 3 minutes left. At some point, I mean, I appreciate that Stoops' game plan and conservative nature as a coach is what kept us in the game, and I recognize that. But at some point, you have to pull the trigger and say, we've been going toe to toe all night with Georgia. They've lost 2 games in the last 4 years. They've both been to Alabama and Nick Saban. And here we are with 3 minutes to go. We got a chance to beat them. I'm pulling the trigger. I'm going for it. And guess what? If I don't get it, they're still on the other side of the 50-yard line. My defense has been playing great all night. I'm going to take my chances and trust my defense to go bail me out if I gamble and don't get this first down.
So you are exactly right on everything you just said. Now, here's my 2 instances. Actually, I'm going to say 3. I'm going to say 3 instances. So both of the ones you were talking about were huge. And the one at the end of the first half, I have a huge problem with. Huge, because it's 9 seconds left, and we were on like first or second down. There's timeouts called. We bring the offense back out. Looks like we're going to run a play. Then they call a timeout, and you come back after their timeout, and the damn field goal unit's on the field.
Yeah, I was confused about that.
I don't understand. There's 9 seconds left. I don't understand what in the hell happened inside of those timeouts.
Yeah.
I don't, you know what I mean? Like, you clearly changed your mind about going for it. Here's my thing, man. You are not going to win very many of these games, especially against top competition like that, if you don't ever take a shot. Here's my one big ass gripe. How many times, y'all tell me, how many shots did we take tonight to the end zone?
I'm going to go with 0. All right, Brad? Yeah. No, now granted, we moved the ball.
How do you plan on winning a football game when you take 0 shots at the end zone? And we were there. We were in the 20s. We were in the 30s. We were, at the yard line. We were there. There was one time, I think it was the second field goal we got, where it was like a 39-yarder or a 40-yarder or something. I mean, we were on like the 22-yard line or something, 20-yard line.
Yep.
Something like that. I mean, take a shot. I don't understand. Listen, I'm all for playing conservative in a game like that. It's the only way we've ever been able to stay with Georgia.
Yep.
Go back and look at it. We lost a 14-3 game in Kroger Field about 3 or 4 years ago. And it's the only way we have ever been able to stay in a game against Georgia. When you try to go up and down the field and play fast and have tons of possessions and all that, we usually get our ass beat pretty bad. Mm-hmm. All right. So I get it. I'm all for that. However, you have to take some shots. And I'm not saying 12, but damn, throughout the entire game, you have 0.
Yeah, and Josh, bringing up a great point here. We have some of the best wide receivers in the SEC, and he didn't do it not once. We ran these little kind of out routes a bunch and these kind of cross routes a bunch, Brad. But I mean, here's the thing, you have Barry and Brown, right? You have Barry and Brown, who's probably the
I
fastest
think he
player.
threw. I think he threw to him twice tonight, and he caught
Well,
both of them.
well, you have Barry and Brown, the fastest player in college football. And how do you not put him on some kind of go route at some point, Brad? Because he's going to beat everybody. Right?
Unless, and I wasn't watching downfield all night, unless Georgia was putting a safety on his side of the field and backpedaling his way all night long, and there was just a guy in center field waiting on it for the long bomb. Unless they did that, I agree with you. Now, if they have a guy back there on his side all night long and cheating to his side, and it's just the center fielder waiting for it, then you can't really throw that ball. And I understand that. But
Yeah. Well, and what about the McLean shot? He's a deep threat too. You talk about Brown and McLean. How do you not throw a deep shot to them? Now, Josh says Dane Key, but I mean, I think we targeted Dane Key quite a bit. I don't know if he's as much of a downfield threat, Brad. But
talking
and
about
then what?
Macklin.
Or sorry, yeah, Macklin, not McLean. I keep wanting to call him McLean. Why do I want to call him McLean? We had
Macklin.
we've
I mean,
had
Macklin's a
McLean.
great receiver. Now, there was one big what if with Macklin tonight as well.
What was that? I'm not remembering.
He let one go right through his hands. I think it was on a third down. And I mean, he was right at the chain and he let one go right through his hands. And
okay. Yep. I remember that. Yeah. I remember that now.
And that was late. That was in the fourth quarter. That was, I mean, I'm pretty sure that was in like 8 minutes to go or something on that drive.
Well, what about, we didn't get into the, obviously the red zone pretty much, but we didn't even really get inside our own 25
but they didn't
very
either.
much.
Guys,
yeah.
In the first half, Georgia had 0 drives to our side of the field past the 50.
Yeah.
They only had 2 drives to our side of the field the entire night.
2. But when we did get inside our own 25, Brad, and one of those times was when I don't know if it was inside the 25, but one of those times is when there was 9 seconds left in the first half, right? How do you not run, some tight ends out on an out route, right? And you just get and
you
pick
have
up the
to
yards.
take a shot there. There's no excuse. You're getting the ball back at halftime. You deferred. You're getting the ball back at halftime. There's 9 seconds. It's a 3-3 game. It's Georgia. You have 9 seconds. There's no timeouts, but you have to trust your offense, your offensive coordinator, and your quarterback in that situation. You have to trust them. You have to know that if I put the ball in their hands, offensive coordinator and a play call and the QB, if I put the ball in their hands, they are going to put it out of the end zone or we're going to have a real shot. And you have to trust them. You cannot do what we did at the end of the first half.
Let's talk about
the fourth down thing with 3 minutes to go is the exact same thing.
Let's talk about Pete's comment here. I questioned at the end of the first half why instead of running a running play in which I heard should have been a targeting call, but 1 to 2 shots at the end zone with the amount of time we had. Let's talk about that targeting call. Right, Brad? That totally should have been targeting. Also would have changed that situation quite a bit.
Yes, there's another call, and I've already mentioned about 4 or 5. There was at least 5 or 6 calls in this game that I think made a huge difference in this game. That was targeting clear as day. The guy led with his helmet and hit helmet to helmet. And McElroy's like, well, he hit his face mask. I don't give a shit if he hit his face mask or not. What in the hell does that have to do with targeting?
Exactly. If you lead with the crown of the helmet, it's targeting, right? I mean,
I mean, he kind of hit to the side. It hit his face mask.
who cares? It's the
Is
same
that
thing.
still his helmet or face or what? I mean,
I'd never
I don't.
heard that before. It's like, well, he hit his face. Well, yeah, that if you lead with the crown of your helmet and you make contact above the shoulders, it's targeting, right?
That play was clear as day targeting. There's no way around it whatsoever. Now, would it have made a difference at the end, Pete? I mean, I don't know, because a play or two later, we're not, we're not even taking shots in the end zone. Which is just honestly, for an offense and for an offensive coordinator, to be quite honest with you, it's kind of pathetic.
Let's talk.
And I hate to say that,
Yeah,
but when you don't take any shots and you don't allow your offense and your offensive coordinator and your quarterback, and you don't give them the leeway and trust to do that, to make a play in the end zone, and receivers and everybody else, it's kind of demoralizing for the
let's talk
team.
about Adam Luckett of KSR says, I think the big miss late is the 2nd and 8 pass call. If Kentucky runs it and gets it to 3rd and medium, that makes it an auto go for it situation. Much tougher in the 3rd and 4th and long against the pass rush. That is one that UK should want back. I absolutely agree there at the end, Brad. I think you try to get it to 3rd and medium, 3rd and short.
Yep.
But even if it's 4th and 8,
we had been running, and Demi
yeah.
had been getting 4 or 5 yards pretty much on every play. And yes, we could have got it to 3rd and short. And that was wind up being that 4th down call, I think, that everybody's talking about there, where they didn't go for it because it was like 4th and 8.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, with that much time on the clock, Stoops rarely ever goes. I mean, if it had been 4th and 2 or something like that, he might have
But he
went for it.
should. But he probably should
But
go
4th
for
and
it, though.
8, he rarely ever
He
does that.
rarely does, but I think in this situation, even if it's 4th and long, you should go
Well,
for it.
yes. When
Yeah.
you have played, when your team and your players has given it all to be in position in a game to beat the number 1 team in the country, to be in position at the end, and you don't have the guts to go for it. That's my biggest gripe out of all of this, is that when it came time to make those decisions, we did nothing. We didn't.
Right.
We took no shots.
We were in the game, but we were completely conservative. We didn't have that sense of aggression at all, and I think
And
that
that
is
tells
one.
me, Coleman, that he doesn't trust the offensive coordinator. He doesn't trust the offense. He doesn't trust the receivers. He doesn't trust the quarterback, and that's a problem.
Yeah, so let's talk about what this means for the season moving forward and what we can kind of take away from this game. So I think you do take away that Stoops can get the team off the mat. We were certainly at the lowest point maybe in the entire Stoops era last week. But you see that the coaching staff can pull this team up off the mat. They can punch back. They can bounce back. And they put up a fight against the number 1 team in the country. They went toe-to-toe with them literally until the final buzzer. But yeah, well, and I think another positive you could take away too is the defense, right? I mean, defense played
The
an
defense on this team,
absolutely stout game.
I'm
Yeah,
telling you guys, this defense is special and can be really special. I mean, to hold Georgia to 13 is amazing.
it's kind
And
of
out of
insane. Yeah,
everything in this game, Brad White and the defense done a tremendous job tonight keeping them in the ball game. And Deion Walker and and Zion Childers played great tonight. I mean, the defense played lights out
Well,
tonight.
and yeah, yeah, exactly. And did you hear that stat about Georgia's punter? It was a career high in game punts for him. He punted 6 times. It's
Yep.
career high. I mean,
Yep.
that's significant too, right? That's significant.
And that punter's been there for a few years.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't know how much you can take away about the offense really yet, Brad. Because let's go through it for a second.
Well, we played 3 games and we really haven't done nothing. And
Yeah.
clearly, I think that Stoops doesn't trust the offense. He's not going to let it go.
I don't really think he ever has. But the first game's against Southern Miss. You start the game at 3:00 in the morning. You don't play the whole game, and so you can't take away.
I don't even really count that as a game, but
right. Yeah, you can't take anything away from that. Then you look at South Carolina,
which was a travesty.
It was a travesty, but you maybe see a little bit of a silver lining, Brad, in that they stood toe-to-toe with LSU. They probably should have beaten LSU today, to be honest with you. And you got to think, well, maybe South Carolina's defense is a little better than we were giving them credit for. So maybe you don't feel quite as bad about the game. Then Georgia, Georgia's Georgia, as my co-host Caden Holmes says. So I don't really feel like we can make any ultimate conclusions about the offense yet, Brad. But what I do know is this team has the ability to bounce back, and this team's defense has the potential to be great. They played great tonight. But the real question moving forward on how many games we can actually win and what kind of season this can be lies in the hands of the offense.
At some point, I mean, this coming week is going to be severely important for this offense, to be quite honest with you. This coming week we play Ohio. This should be a get-right game. If you watched my show last night, College SportsCast Game Day Pick'em, I said that Notre Dame should have a get-right game with Purdue today, which they did. Next week should be a get-right game for Kentucky's offense. I'm not talking about the defense. I'm talking about Kentucky's offense.
Yep.
It should be a get-right game. If Kentucky's offense does not put up 40-plus on Ohio next week, I'm not sure exactly how many wins and where this team goes. I do know that the defense on this team is really good. And defensively, they should be able to keep us in most games. I'm just not sure if we can score enough points. But I'm going to tell you guys, Ohio next Saturday is a get-right game. And I'm not talking about
the defense
for the defense. I'm not talking about for the entire team. I'm talking about for Bush Hamden, this offense, for Berrien Brown, for Dane Key, for Jamari Macklin, for Dingle, for Josh Caddis. I'm talking about for every one of them. Next week is a get-right game. I want to see 40 to 45 points on the board.
And, so you have Ohio next week. For those of you listening that don't know, I live in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So I'm going to drive up to Mississippi. I'm going to go to the Ole Miss game.
He's a traitor.
I'm a traitor. No, I'm not. I'm not really a traitor. No, definitely not.
Messing.
Yeah, definitely not. But
I'm just messing with Cole.
but I'm gonna go, Brad. I'm gonna go to the Ole Miss game. I'm gonna have a heck of a time, and it's gonna be fun. But
what's sad, Coleman, is a lot of times with these Stoops teams, when we play the better teams, they seem to be fired up and ready to play.
Yep.
When we play the South Carolinas and the Vandies, they seem very uninterested and don't care to win for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, we're 3 games in, and I don't really feel like I know anything about the identity of this team yet, Brad. And I
feel like I know a few things.
Yeah,
but offensively, I mean, I saw Clyde up there a while ago said that, Brock is off on some of his throws. Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. At this point, how can you really tell? I mean, he's playing the number one defense in the country tonight.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
thought he looked
exactly.
pretty decent tonight. I know he was only like 14 to 27 or something and 114 yards, but he probably had 2 or 3 drops. I know he had at least that many in drops. All right. And against the number one defense, I mean, Malachi Starks is the number one defensive back in the country.
And they didn't
He
lay
went at
down.
him. He went
Yeah.
at him with Dane King. Like he wasn't afraid to throw to that side.
And they didn't lay down. Honestly, I thought when Georgia scored that touchdown, I thought that's it. They're going to quit. They didn't. They fought back. They went marched right down the field, put up another field goal, and we couldn't.
And you're
punch
right,
it in
Rachel.
tonight,
We did better tonight about protecting him than we did last week. Last week was pitiful. Last week, to be quite honest with you, it reminded me of going to watch my 12-year-olds in Pee Wee leagues.
Yep.
Like, so the 12, like when you watch the line play, like in Pee Wee leagues, and there's always 2 or 3 that just run right through the line, get right to the quarterback. That's what it reminded me of last week.
Yeah, it did. It did me too. If I had a 12-year-old,
that's how Kentucky played SEC football last week. It was just, it looked like they were lost and they just didn't know where to play, and they just let everybody through. And yeah.
Well, guys, we want to hear
like we was in Pee Wee League or something.
Guys, we want to hear your thoughts on the game. 502-234-1504. Give us a shout. We'd love to hear from you. Love to hear your thoughts on the team moving forward. Your takeaways from tonight. What do you think about the team after this? What kind of season do you think it'll be? Do you have more hope for the year after this? Do you feel the same? Do you feel worse somehow? Let us know.
Let me say, I see some people saying that they don't protect him. I thought they did much better tonight. However,
absolutely.
I am going to say this. Teams know how to get to us. They bring 6 or 7. They blitz all the time because they know we struggle blocking them.
We've got Clyde here on the phone here. Clyde, how's it going, man?
What's up, Clyde?
It's good. How y'all?
Doing well, man. I'm encouraged from the Cats tonight, actually. I'm disappointed, but I'm happy we at least put up a fight. And I didn't say this at the beginning of the show, but I do want to say this. I'm really proud as hell of this team tonight. I mean, I am proud of the effort that we put up, and I'm back in. I'd kind of quit. I was not ready for this game at all. I was sort of down and I was not hyped up at all, but I'm very encouraged and I'm sort of back on the train now. So yeah, that's what I'm going with, Clyde. But how you feeling?
I'm I don't really even know. How do you?
That's kind of where I am.
I mean, that's kind of how I feel too. I don't know whether to, because I am a little disappointed. I'm very disappointed because we almost had the chance to beat the number 1 team in the country. But so I definitely feel disappointed, and there were definitely some things that didn't go our way, and some what ifs and some mistakes that we made. But then I'm also encouraged. So it's hard to know how to feel.
It's it's kind of hard to think about that we haven't scored a touchdown in the last 2 games, and that's just, I mean, I'm not used to that. Honestly, I'm not. And we didn't really protect Brock that well tonight, because if we did, he wouldn't have to run the way he did and have to hurt his shoulder the way he does. It's just, and also another thing is he just won't slide for some reason. I mean, he did slide twice tonight. I saw him do it a couple of times, but
maybe 3.
wasn't. Maybe. I mean, we just don't have a good O-line. It's just, we need to face that. We do not have a good O-line.
We don't have a good O-line, but I do think that they did play significantly better tonight than last week. I mean, to be fair, it didn't take much to play better this week than last week, but But I'm glad that Brock isn't afraid to run the ball, and when he does
Right.
slide, he at least picks up the first down.
And Demi had 100 yards tonight
That's it.
against Georgia.
And he had 100 yards against Georgia. So
oh wow, oh I didn't even know he had him. Yeah, he's tough as nails. I mean, he's a country boy. He's from the deep south of Georgia. Like, he's a country boy. He's a farmer. I mean, I get that mentality and I like that mentality, but he needs to slide more because, I mean, that shoulder is important. And, he's going to be, he's going to be feeling that tomorrow. If he goes to church, he might feel that during Sunday service. And, he might have.
You think he'll feel it during Sunday service? Okay. Yeah.
I think so. I mean, he might have to. Yeah. He might have to get up and walk out of the sanctuary just to pop out his shoulder a little. I mean, it's just real life stuff there. I mean, he does the stuff we don't think about, but that's real life stuff. I mean,
he's going to be taking communion. He's going to have like somebody feed him communion because he won't be able to use his arms to do it. So, yeah, I don't think so. But
I don't know if his church actually serves communion every Sunday. My church, we don't. We normally serve communion on every first Sunday of the month.
Okay, so what denomination are you? How many?
I'm non-denomination.
Okay,
my
you're
church, we accept all Christian religions. Yes. Yeah, so.
Well, there you go. The non-denoms, some do it once a month. My home church is non-denom too, but we do it every week. But so do you? Would you rather have communion every week, or you like it once a month? Okay,
I'm a once in a month kind of man. That's just what I've grown up on. And
see, I like it every week. So why are you? I'm curious why you're a once a month guy. I like it. I like it every week.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Catholics, they do it every week, and they drink out of the same bottle. I mean, the same glass, but they wipe it off before each person walks up and they drink. And they actually drink wine for the adults, but I don't know about the kids. I've been to a couple of Catholic services. So.
Oh yeah,
but anyways,
they do it too. Yeah, they don't care. They just
no, I'm not.
I guess no. I guess they're breaking the 21 and over rule. I guess. I mean, but I'm proud of the defense. And I thought the defense. I mean, I did not really complain about the defense much tonight. I thought they did about as well as they really could. But this offense, they obviously have a lot of work to do. And but you know what? They didn't play that terrible tonight. We didn't throw an interception. We had that one fumble. It was one fumble that our offense that went over Brock's head, right? And then he fumbled it, and then Georgia got the ball. But that was our only turnover on offense, right?
It was.
Yep, it was. Had the chance to have more there. But I mean, what do you take away from this, Claude, about the rest of the season? I want to know if you feel better or worse or the same as you did last week about moving forward in the season.
All I wanted was for us to compete, and we did that. That checked off the box, and I see another 7-5 season. I mean, I still think we can beat Auburn. I still think we can beat Vanderbilt. I still think we can beat Florida, Louisville.
Auburn was behind today to New Mexico,
Ohio. So, I mean,
10-7 early. I'm not sure.
I think you're looking at 7-5. I mean, that's just the reality. I think you're looking at here.
I think that's actually kind of an optimistic outlook though, because you're saying that we're gonna get 3 SEC wins and win the Governor's Cup. So I mean that's kind of an encouraging outlook. I mean, so it sounds like you're more optimistic. I mean, last
defensively,
week,
I think he's right. We could do that. Now is the offense going to wake up?
Well, we didn't do a show last week, but man, I was
yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. But I think that. Oh wait, you did a post? Wait,
we did a post game last week. We did.
Okay.
Yeah. You were there. Okay. You might not remember it. Maybe you wanted to forget that one. But yeah.
Maybe so. But anyways, guys, thanks for taking my call. I'm gonna let some other people call in. I'm sure Mr. Josh Hart will be calling in. But thank you for taking my call, and go Cats.
We appreciate it, man. Thank you. 502-234-1504. I think we did miss a Josh Hart call. So Josh,
remind me at the end. I have something I want to say about Brock Vandegrift that I think Kentucky fans will appreciate. So at the very end.
Jason says they played a hell of a game tonight. Proud of these boys. Jason, I completely agree. I am proud as hell of this football team tonight. And that's something I could not say last week. But we got Josh Hart on the phone here now. Josh, how's it going, man?
Hey, what's going on, guys? How y'all doing this evening?
Oh,
What's up, man?
we watch Kentucky, so we're not sure how to feel. We're kind of like Clyde. We don't know if we're more encouraged, more discouraged. But it's certainly better than last week. I think we could start with that.
Yeah, I really thought we had a good opportunity to beat them tonight, and just like Brad said earlier in the show, we never get the breaks. SEC officials were absolutely horrendous. It took them, I don't know, it was like one point in the game, it took them 2 or 3 minutes to figure out a holding call against Georgia. And I'm like, why? Like, they got together and huddled forever. Like, what do you got to talk about? Just make a call.
Well, I don't get.
And,
They wanted to know what the other one had for lunch or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. They wanted to know what the other one had for lunch. But I mean, I don't understand, why does it take them 20 minutes to I mean, when somebody obviously like goes off sides or something like that, like why do they have to huddle up? Do they say,
because they're on DraftKings checking their point spread, making sure they're good.
It does feel like that.
And
I thought the lock of the week, Josh, was that LSU was going to cover 6 on South Carolina. How did that not happen?
I didn't.
I took South Carolina, but I also took Auburn tonight and a bunch of other teams that didn't cover. Michigan, for good Lord, I'm done with Michigan forever. But forever, I promise you, Brad Harvey, I am done with Michigan the rest of the season.
Well, Brad, Josh, you said you both met South Carolina. So last week after we lost to South Carolina, you all just turned into well, I won't say that, but you turned into.
I did not bet that game at all.
Yeah, man. I mean, they should have beat LSU today. They really should have. They should have been.
Well, let's talk about a pick six. We had a pick 6 taken off the board. South Carolina did too. Did you guys see that? Did you see that, Josh? South Carolina's pick 6 they had taken off.
Mm-hmm. They did have.
No, but I mean, ours was ridiculous. That even the SEC, there was a SEC official guy that came on ESPN. The 2 idiots there was broadcasting the game. Were pulling for Georgia the whole game, but the SEC guy, the official dude, he's like, "Hey, there's not enough evidence, therefore it should stand as what's being ruled on the field, and it should be a touchdown for Kentucky." And then the refs came out and said it hit the ground. That was a very deflating moment for Kentucky because we were getting ready to be up 10-0, and we had all this momentum, defense playing great, and they had to make sure that they reversed that call because that would have hurt
that
Georgia.
Was second quarter, wasn't it, Josh?
Yeah. Yeah. Was that second quarter, Josh? I think it was. Yeah, I believe it was definitely first half. I think it was the second quarter, but
John, Commonwealth Stadium was blowing. I mean, it was like, oh my! I was sitting there. I was like, seriously, did he just pick that ball? Are we up? Can't get ready to be up 10-0 on Georgia?
Yeah.
And I was like, holy, what is going on tonight? And it was just, I mean, you could just feel the whole mood change when they reversed that.
The only time we even took a shot.
Just went, oh, that sucked.
The only time we ever even took a shot at the end zone all night long.
There's so many missed calls tonight, so many missed holding calls on Georgia.
Yeah.
Barry Brown was getting held left and right. They didn't call it. We had face masks. We had, one play. I thought that Brock got hit late, and they should be called roughing the passer, and they didn't call it. And it's just that's the way it is when you're UK and they're Georgia. And like somebody else called and said earlier, that's the SEC's baby. They don't want them to lose to Kentucky and mess their season up.
It does feel like that, man. But where are you on the team? Like, what do you think the rest of the year is going to look like now?
I'm going to agree with Clyde. 7-5 is where I see us now. I don't think we're going to get above that. I don't think we're not going to lose. We're not going to win in Texas.
No, we're not. We're not.
Tennessee looks
Tennessee's
great.
good.
We're not gonna win at Ole Miss.
Oh, no,
They're really good.
Wait a minute, Josh. I'm going to be at that game, so I might have something to say about that. You know what we
And
that game because I'll be there. So I'm gonna play a part in that one, just so you know.
And as much as I hate to say this, and because I know Brad Harvey despises them orange fellers down there south of us, Tennessee is going to probably put a whooping on us.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Josh,
Unfortunately, I
I'm
think
never
I think
talking
they
to you
will.
again.
Yeah, they had 60. What was it, 65 or 45 or something? I don't know. It was ridiculous.
Well, I mean, out of those three, I'm looking up at our poster, our schedule on the poster here. Out of those three road games, three big road games that we have, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Texas. I think Ole Miss is the most likely that we win. I don't see how we win at Tennessee or at Texas. But to be fair, tonight I said I don't know how we even come close to even competing with Georgia.
I mean,
took them down to the wire. So.
I mean, I'm not going to lie either. I mean, I've been saying it all week. We was going to get murdered 77-0.
Yep.
So, I'm not going to say, and, I'm very proud of our defense. The offense, like Clyde said, has a lot to do. But that defense was spectacular tonight, and they tried their damnedest to get us that victory. And I'm very proud of Brad White, what he did against Georgia tonight. So that was a very, very positive thing tonight.
People were blowing up my phone of people that I haven't talked to in a while. Just saying, hey man, I'm watching Kentucky. I'm pulling for Kentucky tonight, or Kentucky played a great game tonight.
There was actually some people in a chat for me that were they're Oklahoma and Texas fans, and they're just chat, and they're like, man, I'm pulling for the Wildcats tonight. And I was like,
yeah. The whole world was pulling for Kentucky, and everybody was saying "Go Cats" tonight. And it was on national television. It was certainly better this week.
I had people messaging me.
It was certainly better this week to put this performance on ABC versus South Carolina. So it was quite a turnaround. Well, Josh, man, thanks for calling in.
But just real quick. What do you think if we would have beat South Carolina this week and then we just lost to Georgia tonight by 1? So much media recognition. It would have been unreal because they've been like, you would have had recruits saying, okay, they started out 2-0, and then they barely lost to the number one team in the nation. That would have made us look so much better. Maybe this helped a little bit too in recovering some of the recruits that was like, I don't want to know if we'll go to Kentucky or not. Maybe they're like, okay, maybe I'll come. I'll reconsider Kentucky, because that helped tremendously on the recruiting front, in my opinion.
Yeah, we'd say, should we be buying tickets to the SEC championship and the national championship, or just the national championship? That's what we'd be saying if that happened. And that's that's why that South Carolina game really stings for sure. But I think if you won tonight, it would have completely erased.
You got to get up and play every game.
So
even the South Carolina Brandies.
That's my thing, Josh. Why can't we get up and have that? I mean, you called it juice tonight. Why can't we get up and have that juice every single night? Where was that last week? Like we weren't even anywhere close. We weren't even on the same planet as that last week.
It's just they came out the gate. They came out last week against South Carolina. Thought they were just going to do whatever they want with them, and South Carolina hit them in the mouth. And hit him in the mouth, and they couldn't recover from all the blows to the mouth. And the end result was we lost 31-6. And it looked like we looked horrible, and instead of us getting game day, possibly, South Carolina got game day today.
Yep.
So that hurts too. It's all about, that really hurts us on the recruiting front. If we ever want to be competitive in the SEC, we have to win games like South Carolina. We have to win, be competitive, which we were today against Georgia, because a recruit might say, you know what, I want to come to Kentucky. I like the school. I like the ambience. I like how it's set up.
Yep.
But we can't get these recruits until we start, focusing on these small games like South Carolina and winning these games, and then being competitive against the Georgias and now Texas and the LSU's or whoever's in the SEC that's good this year. Alabama looks solid. So we have to do that in order to just, just to strive to be a better football program. And, they got some fans back tonight with this 14-13 loss.
I mean, they got me back. I wasn't in. I wasn't on the train. I got off the train last week, and it hurt me to do that. But I
got off the train and it ran me over.
Yeah. Yep. Me too. I feel that, man. But hey, thanks for calling in as always, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Have a great night.
You too.
Go Cats.
See you, Josh.
502-234-1504. We'd love for some of you guys down in the comments to call in, guys and gals. We'd love to hear from you. 502-234-1504. Yeah, but Brad, so we all thought we were losing this game tonight. So we're right where we thought we would be.
Yeah.
After last week, we thought we were going to beat South Carolina, but you have the opportunity to go get right against Ohio next week. You're 2-2 next week. Then if the offense can do what you were saying, Brad, if the offense can go put up 40 something on Ohio, the defense can have a real good game. Let's just say we have a real good game next week. Then you can turn around and you can go down to Oxford and Ole Miss. You could say, if we can win this game, we can put ourselves back on. We can erase that South Carolina game. We could steal one back.
If you could win, if you could win next week convincingly, put something in our offense, take something with us to Ole Miss and use it and get a win against Ole Miss, then you definitely get that win back, basically, from South Carolina. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I wasn't banking on us beating Ole Miss, and I wasn't banking on us beating Georgia tonight. So I had those two games as losses for us anyway, to be honest.
Same.
Yeah.
So if you can go steal one of those, you can be back where you thought you were. Let's be honest. So Vandy looks like they're back to good old Dandy Vandy.
So let me real quick. Let me run through the SEC.
Yeah, so, do it, because I don't know. I just know
Alabama, big noon kickoff today. They started out today. They whipped Wisconsin in Wisconsin, 42-10. Missouri struggled at home with a ranked Boston College, 24th ranked Boston College, but they did. They were down 14-3 in the second quarter, but they come back and won 27-21 at home. A nice win after being down 14-3. Oklahoma beat Tulane at home 34-19. Yeah, Tulane's a pretty decent team, so that's a decent win. Texas A&M beat Florida in the Swamp 33-20, and that was a lot more lopsided. They scored a touchdown at least late to make that. It was 33-13, 5-6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. They scored a touchdown late to make that game look a little better. Florida is in trouble. That was at home in the Swamp. They have a very tough schedule coming up. They're in trouble, sitting at 1-2. Arkansas struggled against UAB today. Did pull it out. They were down 20-17. Did pull it out 37-27 against UAB, but didn't look great. Ole Miss went into Wake and put up 40, won 40-6 at Wake Forest. That was at Wake Forest. Texas beat UTSA 56-7. And what I want to say about Texas is this, guys. Ewers got hurt in this game. And if you guys have not got to see it yet, go watch some highlights of Arch Manning. This kid is legit, guys.
Yeah, that kid looks unbelievable. Yeah,
he had one running. He had 4 TDs today in relief, and looked most of the time when you lose your starting quarterback, and Quinn Ewers is maybe one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the country, okay? And when you lose that guy, most of the time you take a step back. I'm not so sure that Arch Manning's not better.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I'm dead serious at that.
It's getting that NIL money.
Vandy lost today 36-32 at Georgia State.
It's nice
Georgia
to know
State,
that Vandy's
not
back
Georgia, who we played, Georgia State.
It's good to know that Vandy's back to normal now. That makes me feel better.
Auburn wind up pulling it out 45-19 at home against New Mexico, but New Mexico is a very bad team, and they were behind in this game at one time. Auburn did not look great.
Who they lose to last week? Didn't
they lost to California?
Yeah, see, that's what Mississippi State got destroyed.
Mississippi State got destroyed at home 41-17 by Toledo, a Mountain West team, which New Mexico.
Do you think I jinxed it? I was on campus at Mississippi State this week, and I was working with the trumpet studio.
They got destroyed.
I told one of the trumpets. I told one of the trumpets. I was like, who do y'all got this weekend? He said Toledo. I was like, well, I said, yeah, I'll be fine. They weren't fine.
No, they lost 41-17 at home, and then Tennessee may still be scoring points. I'm not sure. 71-0 over Kent State. But let me be honest here. Kent State was ranked 134th out of 134 Division I teams before this game against Tennessee.
Man, I think
let's not put a ton of stock what we've seen. They beat a decent NC State team who struggled today against La Tech, by the way, at home. So they beat a FCS team and the worst statistic-wise FBS team in the country.
Yeah.
That's who they've played so far. I mean, they ain't played a Georgia, and South Carolina looks way better than anything they played.
Hey, I just got this ESPN notification here. Travis Hunter had a pick, and then it was followed by 4 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties on Colorado after he he picked off a ball and 4 unsportsmanlike flags. See, that sums up Colorado in a nutshell, doesn't it, Brad?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't looked. Yeah. Somebody said the Buffs won. Congratulations. They beat Colorado State. It is a rivalry for them, but I mean, it's not an impressive win or nothing. I mean, Texas beat the fire out of them week 1. So it's not impressive, not really. But it was nice that they got a win. I'm sure they're 2-1. So we're 1-2. So, I mean, you are what your schedule says you are. So,
well, I think moving forward here, we'll do last call for calls, 502-234-1504. Give us a shout. But I think moving forward, South Carolina game sucks. Maybe they're better than you think they are. They should have beat LSU today. But maybe that's your clunker for the year. You just went toe-to-toe with the number 1 team in the country. It's only lost 2 games in the past 4 years. Next week, you go up against Ohio. You can get right in that game. You can feel good about your offense. You can feel good about your defense once again. And then you can go into Ole Miss feeling like, you're back at 500, you're 2-2, and you're feeling like we can steal one here. We can get back on track. And Brad,
I think it's very important that the offense has that get right game next week if you're going to do that.
What about the get? If they have to have the 40 points
next week. Next week against Ohio, I think the offense has to have that get right game, that flow, nice flow, getting people involved in the offense, and scoring points. Guys, we are 3 games into the season, and we're averaging 16 points a game.
Yep. It's not great.
We've scored 49 points, which is 16 in a third. 16.33.
But then again, one of those games is Georgia, and one of those games is your first SEC opponent, against South Carolina, and it was a total clunker. So I think we'll know a lot about how the offense is truly going to fare for the rest of the season after the Ohio game.
I do too. I do too. As far as offensively, I think that's going to be a big game. Like I said, I think it should be a get-right game for the offense. I think that if this team is going to do anything at all, it is a must-get-right game for the offense. Not only that, I think it's a get-right game for that offense for the play calling and everything down the stretch for this team, because tonight wasn't it. I mean, defense kept you in the game. We played great as far as defensive wise, but there was no trust in the offense. There was no trust in the offensive coordinator. There was no trust in the players, including Brock, and you did not give them any opportunity or chance or shots to prove that they could make a play. And that's a problem going forward.
We want to give you a little.
We were talking about going forward. So that's a problem unless you go into next week in the Ole Miss game and start really putting together some trust in some offensive plays and putting up some points. That's a problem for this team. So, I think that's where we are. Unfortunately, you get that Ole Miss game. If you could do that, I think we come back home for Vandy after that. Is that right?
We do. Yep. I'm going to that one too. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I think we come back home for Vandy after that one. So, then you could be, 4-2? If you could beat Vandy?
Conceivable if you beat Ole Miss. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm saying, if you could steal that win in Ole Miss. Yeah.
You could be 4-2 going into a really bad Florida team.
Florida team, and then you get to come back home to Auburn. So
then
I mean, there's some wins there that you could definitely get.
Yep.
I'm just looking, that far as of now. There's some wins there that you definitely could get. You
could be 6-2, and then you're obviously probably going to lose Tennessee and Texas, but then you could take Murray. I mean, you're going to beat Murray, and then you get Louisville and be 8-4.
It's possible, but you do have to steal a game against like Mississippi to get there.
Or Tennessee or Texas, but I think the most likely
one is
probably
the
Ole Miss. Yeah.
The most likely one.
Well, guys, hey, we really appreciate you listening and everything. We want to go ahead and tell you to follow us on all the things. Facebook, if you missed the beginning of the show or any part of the show, you want to go back and listen to it. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. So go follow Talkin Kentucky and all those things. You can also follow Brad on College
SportsCast.
He's on everything.
Follow us as well. We are on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Follow us. This is live on our YouTube and our Facebook, both. And then probably tomorrow sometime, he will send me the audio of this, and I will get it up on our audio platforms as well. You can find us on Apple and Spotify and Good Pods and Podbean and everywhere, to be honest with you. And that's an audio version of this. So follow College Sportscast. I do have one quick thing that I wanted to kind of add here.
Yeah. I just wanted to shout out Clyde real quick here. He's saying he's going to be at Kroger Field for the Vandy game. So he said he'll be running into me. Clyde, want to finally meet you in person. So don't be a stranger. Shout me out, or DM me, or whatever the kids say these days, and we'll hook up for sure. Carry on, Brad.
All right. So there's one quick thing kind of a note here that I wanted to add about Georgia, about Kirby Smart, and about Brock Vandagriff. So at the conclusion of the game, not only did the coaches, Mark Stoops and Kirby, shake hands and talk a little bit there at midfield, but I don't know if you caught it or not, but Kirby had a long hug with Brock Vandagriff and was talking in Brock's ear. And after the game, I heard Molly McGrath is the sideline reporter that was doing the game today for Sean McDonough and Greg McElroy and for that crew. After the game, she said something that really kind of hit home with me. She said earlier this week, it didn't happen today, but she said earlier this week that she asked Kirby Smart about Brock Vandagriff. And Kirby's response tells you all you really need to know about Brock Vandagriff. Kirby said flat, he said, "I love Brock Vandagriff." And then his next response tells you everything you need to know. He said, "Brock is the type of guy that I would want my daughters to marry."
That's high praise.
This come from Kirby Smart, guys.
Yep.
He told Molly McGrath that he loved Brock Vandagriff and that he thought so highly of him that Brock is the kind of guy that he would want his daughters to marry. That says a lot.
That does say a lot. And he gets to church no matter what, even if he's been banged up. Clyde says, he's going to have trouble taking communion, but he's going to still take communion, and he's but no, that really is high praise.
That is high praise, guys. And it kind of hit home with me. I have some daughters, so I mean, it kind of hits home, when you get my age, I guess, I'm close to Kirby's age as well. When you have daughters like that, I mean, you want good people. You know what I mean?
That's the thing is, like, we're not in the locker room with these guys. Like, we don't know what kind of guys they are. We could see them in their press conferences. We could make, assumptions about what they're like, but we don't really know. And to hear Kirby Smart say something like that, I mean, that's sincere. You don't just say that. Like, that's sincere praise. So
yes. And tonight, when the game was over, Kirby put his arm around him, gave him just like, and his other arm too, both arms, giving him a real hug, and was talking in his ear for a good 20 seconds. Like, it wasn't like just, 2 words and it was over with. I mean, so, I mean, you could tell there is a lot of genuine respect and love for not only him, but Dumas Johnson as well. Jaden Dumas Johnson as well.
Yep.
They talked high praise about him too this week. Kirby talked about both of them. If you didn't check it out, you can, like, their press conferences this week leading up. But I got that tidbit from Molly McGrath. So I'm going to give her the credit because she asked the questions and she got the answers. So I want to make sure that you guys know that it was Molly McGrath.
That's really I mean, that the Kentucky fans already liked him, right? Because of he said he was, well, first of all, he's a competer on the field, but he was going to be late for church the next day and all that. So I think Kentucky fans, I think you're right, Brad, they'll like him even more after hearing that, for sure. But,
absolutely.
Well,
I had to throw that in there before we got off the air because I thought that was just a tremendous piece of information, I think, about what kind of guy Brock Vandegrift is, and what kind of leader we have on the football team.
And he could be here. He could be here another year.
He can be here another year, which would be awesome, to be honest with you. I mean, think about him learning this year and then having a year 2 of Brock Vandegrift next year.
Clyde says, thanks for sharing. And yes, I will thank you for sharing, Brad. And I will thank you all for watching. So thank you guys for checking us out. We really appreciate it. Hey, shout out to our fans that say, I mean, it is 1:11 in the morning Eastern time right now. And you guys are still on here over in Lexington, watch and Eastern Kentucky, watching us and everything. So, man, we really appreciate it. And we couldn't do this without you all. We can't do this without an audience. So really appreciate that. Keep checking us out and keep telling people about us. We're trying to grow this thing even more. And yeah, so
absolutely, guys.
Rachel,
check us both out.
Yeah,
check out Talkin Kentucky and College SportsCast. We are both trying to grow, and we might continue to do some stuff together here because I know I enjoy it. I like it. I think it kind of helps both of us, I think, doing some stuff together here. So,
and Josh Hart says he's in Michigan. He's not in Lexington right now, but Josh is all over the place. So, Josh, your heart is always in Kentucky. And your hat is too. So, yeah. But for Coleman Scott and for Brad Harvey, Cats fall to
You'll
Georgia.
have to get me one of those hats, by the way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've got one sitting right here. I'll send it your way. Yeah, they got to give the last one away. They got to order more. But Cats fall to Georgia 13-12, but the Cats put up a fight. So that's what we're hanging our hat on tonight, Brad. So for Coleman
Go
Scott,
Big Blue.
for Caden, for Brad Harvey, not for Caden Holmes, for Brad Harvey, this has been the Talking Kentucky College SportsCast post-game show. And we'll see y'all next time. Go Cats.
Go Big Blue.